works here as well, though.
Yeah, so she works on kidswear.
Yeah.
She's a buyer, so we're almost yin and yang. So I'm merchandising, she's buying. But yeah, she's been here a little bit longer than I have.
A lot of arguments of who's more important.
Probably from her side, but I beg to differ whether she is actually more important than merch, but we'll see.
Yeah, buyers and merch. Got to work together, but also got to have a healthy amount of competition, I guess.
Yeah, rivalry,
Yeah.
sibling rivalry, like job rivalry. It's all there.
So talk to me about you then. Like what's your current role? Is it a assistant merchandiser?
Yeah, so I'm assistant merchandiser on the branded division. So I look after Tommy Hilfiger, Hugo Boss, and Calvin Klein on what is known as the premium team.
The premium team. Oh,
Yeah.
That's a nice title, isn't it?
Yeah, we're not premium in people, but premium in brands. If I'm there, I'm part of the riff-raff, so it can't be premium in people.
So we've got a massive brand offering now, haven't we? Like,
Yeah.
how many brands are we up to? Like,
Huge. I mean, to be honest, the number is ever changing because we're recruiting all the time. But I think, to be honest, the amount of brands that we stock is just wild, considering so many people don't know that they're there. So.
Yeah, I think the last figure I heard was like over 1,000 brands now.
Yeah.
Because I know we were marketing 750, but then people were like, no, it's over 1,000. So we just keep growing and growing.
Yeah, recruiting all the time.
And how does that differ working on brands, say, to like, have you ever worked on any other area in the business, or has it always been brands?
Yeah, so I used to work on main range. So I worked on women's wear when I first started.
Yeah.
And then I moved on to a team that was kind of hybrid between women's wear, own range, and then also stocking some smaller like boutique-based brands. And then naturally, as that department changed its kind of target, it then moved away from being own brand like main range and becoming more of a branded area. So then the management of that team moved under brands. So I kind of hopped over divisions without really trying.
Oh, so you didn't have to move team or anything? It's kind
No,
of like
I stayed with the same team, but
lift
then
and shift.
Yeah, the team kind of copy and paste over onto another division. So yeah.
So you have got that good experience of what we class as like core or the next brand as well as working on the branded
Two
stuff.
different worlds though. Like I think main range is so different to how the branded division is run. Like it's almost like two separate businesses, but that makes it interesting when you move across. So.
And what's the biggest difference between the two, do you reckon?
I suppose from a main range perspective, you've got a lot of ownership of the product. Whereas on brands, you kind of have to let that responsibility go a little bit and you become more account management and building like brand relationships and stuff, because obviously they're their ranges. You're almost like looking after them. And depending on whether you look after wholesale brands or commission brands, wholesale, you've still got that kind of freedom of building your own range because you're kind of picking things off the rack. But commission brands, they kind of curate the range and you're almost there to consult and offer guidance basically. So I think you kind of have to let go of the reins a little bit on brands, but it's all a learning experience.
Got a preference to put you on the spot?
I don't know, to be honest. I think they're so different. You almost can't, it's almost like apples and pears. You can't really choose one or the other. I think both have got tendencies to be really busy. Both have got tendencies to be really exciting and always changing. But I think obviously being on brands, I have to kind of say brands now, don't I?
That's probably the sensible answer. Yeah. Well said. So talk me through more of that journey in terms of how did that all start? Like, what did you come in as? Why did you go, I'm going to go work at Next in fashion in the first place? So
I'd actually done a year in the industry before I came to Next.
Oh, okay.
So I thought I knew the basics of what the job was. And then I came to Next and I was like, wow, this is a big business. I have no idea what I'm doing. I am literally a fish out of water and trying to learn everyone's names and all the systems and everything that there is to do. It was like an uphill battle. But yeah, I kind of came to Next because my sister was already here. She'd got like amazing reviews for what she thought of Next as like a business and what they like to work for. So I was like, maybe that's something that I want to do. And so I moved from where I was to here and came in as a trainee because at that time I wasn't, I suppose, confident enough in myself to think, actually, I could probably go in as an assistant because I've had a year in industry. I didn't feel like I was brave enough to be like, I know it all at that point. So I came over as a trainee, which was probably the best decision because, like I say, the learning curve was quite steep. So I did the right thing, basically.
Oh, good. And what was your what was the main perception other than obviously you've got your sister, and she's going to obviously heavily influence your opinion and stuff. But what was your main perception before you came into Next, before you became a trainee?
That it was a giant. And I wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
massive,
yeah. And to be honest, I was really new to the industry anyway, so I didn't really know much about kind of other retailers, what they had to offer. And I suppose moving across didn't really seem like it was going to be that big of a jump, because I just thought, it'll just be okay, I'll do what I was doing here over there kind of thing. But then when I moved, I realised that like there's so many things that when you've been at Next for a while, you kind of take for granted that other businesses like don't do. So it was almost like, there's all these exciting things that I can go away and do at Next, which I didn't have the opportunity to do before. So yeah, like I say, I think it was the right decision.
Good. And what is so you came in as a trainee merchandiser, is that right? So
yeah.
What is that? Because I guess I've got a good understanding of that, but I guess merchandising is so different everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that role when you came in?
So when I came in, I was put onto the outerwear team on women's wear, and my job was basically to manage deliveries, again, build relationships with suppliers, focus on kind of progress and sort of like item creation right from its inception through to when the stuff went out in stores, working as part of a wider team. So you always have assistant merchandisers and merchandisers, and then you almost have matching roles on the buying side as well. So I had to work with the trainee buyer to do a whole number of different tasks to kind of support the building of product ranges.
So that teamwork's really there from day one, is it?
Yeah. It's like I said about mine and my sister's relationship. You really are yin and yang. You're doing kind of opposite roles, and you've always got that counterpart on the other side of the desk that's doing almost working towards the same goal, but doing slightly different tasks to get there to you.
Right, got you. So one can't exist without the other as well.
No,
I guess.
basically, yeah. Well, some people would like to argue otherwise, but yeah.
Yeah. So what was like the first? What was it like when you came in? What was like the first like month or so? How did that all happen, being a trainee?
Overwhelming in the first month. My sense of direction is awful. I definitely got lost a few times trying to find my way around the building, but you get there eventually. But yeah, I think, like I say, I thought I'd got all the basics to what the role was going to be, and then when I came here, everything is done so differently, and it was almost like learning the skills that I thought I'd got again, but how to apply them in a different setting. It's very fast-paced women's wear, so I don't think I was quite prepared for that. And arguably, like the outerwear team works quite seasonally, so there's parts of the year where it's not as busy. So in theory, there should be kind of downtime, if you can even say that. There should be downtime. And when I arrived, I was thinking, how can there possibly ever be downtime? There's so much to do. I don't understand what I'm doing. But yeah, I'd say by the time I got to around like month 3, I was thinking, okay, this isn't as scary as I thought. Like, it's definitely overwhelming, but I think I can just about get there. And then by month 3, I was moved on to a different department. So that was another learning exercise. But yeah, it was good. It's all character building, isn't it? Trying to figure out how to manage time and stuff. So yeah.
And keeping on your toes and keeping variety.
Yeah, for sure.
Also seeing what you enjoy, as well as where you can progress. So I guess, really a little bit overwhelming, but what was the little bit challenging? What kept you coming back then again and again, thinking, oh no, this is actually progressing quite nicely?
I think the buzz of it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, it's hard to explain, because I feel like if you're new to this industry and you're new to like the role and the buying and merchandising game, you think, oh, being busy, I can't imagine coming into work and being this busy all day, every day. But actually that's where you get the kick out of the job. And I think particularly on main range, when you can see something from like just an idea right the way through to kind of it existing, and then you helping to bring the stock in, and you buy more when you're seeing it on sale and the customers are loving it, I think you get a buzz off it. It's really difficult to explain, but I suppose from a busy perspective, that's my personality as well, so the two kind of went together. So my personal life, I like to be super busy, so why not bring that into work life as well?
Makes sense. I mean, the buzz is a great way of phrasing it. Like, because I think, there's a buzz at Next anyway.
Yeah.
Like, the whole business is fast paced, like you say. it's like, right, once we want to pursue something or really think this is the right way to go, we're all in on it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of echoed across the whole business. So I can totally get that. I think that's such a good word, the buzz. I like that. And then what kind of, did you need any pre-qualifications or anything like that to get into the role or to become a trainee, or what was, but
I kind of came in through a slightly different process to the normal trainee program, but I'd already been to university. I'd not necessarily done a fashion degree or a business degree or anything like that. I did a history degree. And I know a degree is kind of a requirement, but I think the fact that I'd already done a year in industry really put me in good stead for kind of like the interview process that I had to go through, because it meant that I'd got a lot of the initial knowledge about, buzzwords for the industry and stuff like that. So I don't necessarily know if that's required to have previous experience. I should imagine that from a trainee perspective, they're expecting actually most of you are brand spanking new out of uni. So if you don't know anything about that, it's not the end of the world. But I think that's what I suppose helped me get here.
Yeah, and like you said as well, it's not required because you came in and you were like, oh, I'm actually I'm learning even more than I thought I knew. So what I did know was actually, I knew barely anything compared to what Next had taught me. So I guess that's really, really good. And then where's that led you to? Where are you now then? So you came in, you're through the trainee process. Where are you now? Like, how's that all materialised? Like, what's life like now?
So I suppose I spent my trainee life over on women's wear and a very brief part of my assistant merchandiser life on women's wear. And then I've moved over to brands, and now I'm kind of tipping into the upper levels of being an assistant merchandiser, which is great because it means I've got so much responsibility and, my own brands that I look after, obviously with support of other people, but like, it's almost like you manage your own little business, which is quite nice.
That's nice, yeah. And it's, I guess, quite empowering as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Like back to that point I made earlier about it being a buzz. When you see things working, you feel like you're solely responsible for it. And obviously, it's a team effort. It's not just you, but you do get that feeling when things are working. And you want to tell everybody who's sitting around you how good your sales are. And they kind of look at you as if to say, my sales are rubbish at the minute, don't do that to me. But because I don't know, swim shorts, like it's raining outside, no one wants swim shorts. Do you know what I mean? So it's good.
And is a lot of the things that you get satisfaction in around sales as well? Is that something, like you say, is that part of that buzz mentality?
I would say so. But I think, I don't know, I find the whole concept of buying a merchandising interesting because you're learning about trends, like things that aren't necessarily specific to the merchandising role, you get exposure to, and you're kind of seeing what people are going to be buying like next season, and like, oh, okay, that's on my radar for my shopping list when it comes around. So you kind of get to see different parts of product creation and that kind of stuff that you just wouldn't anywhere else. So it is good.
So it's a good balance of, your numbers and sales combined with fashion and trends as well, would you say? Is that in essence what a merchandiser is to you? Or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm perhaps not as numbersy as some other merchandisers. Okay. There's definitely other merchandisers that, love the Excel sheets. They love like formulas and all that kind of stuff. And obviously that is important to my job. I do have to learn that, but it's not the bit that I get the thrill from. I think the product is definitely where my interest is. I mean, they always say that like a buying a merchandiser, if you can find somebody who's a birch, so an amalgamation of the two, it's like the best formula. So yeah.
And where's that come from? That kind of.
I don't know. I've heard it so many times. Like where I worked previously.
It's like an industry thing.
Yeah, like I've heard so many people say it. So I don't know whether they kind of say that to me as if to say you need to stop acting like a buyer and be more of a merchandiser, or whether they're saying it as a term of endearment to be like, oh yeah, it's good that you're a bitch. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe I should ask people that question.
Yeah, definitely do. And where's your you were saying there about your passion and like you really enjoy the trends side and everything. Mm-hmm. Where's that come from? Because I guess that's not something is that something that's developed here, or have you always had that? I
don't know. Obviously my sister's a little bit older than me, so she's been in the game a lot longer. I don't know whether having conversations with her or the fact that I suppose the trend part of it is really easy to talk about with anybody in the industry because they don't have to know your department specifics, or anybody like the suppliers or the brands you look after, they don't have to know the specifics for those. So the trend conversations seem to come more easily. So I would say it's one of the things you probably get exposure and understand first when you start in the industry, because I think, you know, you go to the design presentations, you kind of listen to the buyers and merchants talking about, oh, this is a trend line, we need to make sure we've got enough of this, and blah, blah, blah. But I suppose that's the stuff that people understand really quickly. So I suppose that's kind of where that comes from.
And what's life been like generally, like not just like the job, in terms of what was life as a trainee like in terms of all the other aspects of it as well? Like,
yeah,
is it fun?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Is
to be
it,
honest,
or is it all?
To be honest,
Yeah.
I definitely had a slightly different experience to most trainees, because obviously my sister already worked here. I car shared with her every day, so there wasn't any need for me to live in the trainee house.
Okay.
So I kind of missed out a little bit on the social side for trainees, perhaps to my disadvantage, really, because it meant that getting to know other people on teams took a little bit longer, particularly from a trainee perspective, because every trainee is the same as me in the first few months. They're very much like, I'm overwhelmed, I just need a minute to figure out what I'm doing, and then we'll talk about socials after. But I think if you are kind of looking for that social aspect, it's definitely there. I suppose it's just you need to make the most of it, kind of thing.
So is there a good sense of a trainee community almost then at Next?
Yeah, so they do things like trainee socials where they'll kind of like go into town for like drinks and food, or they'll do activities like golf and things like that. And those kind of things are going on all the time, like in individual divisions, but also like across divisions as well. And they do so many different things when you're a trainee to kind of get you up to speed on what the job entails and stuff, which involves collaborating with loads of other trainees and loads of other people around the business. So there's definitely that social aspect that's encouraged. I suppose it's just a little bit harder if you live far away.
Yeah. So it sounds quite supportive as well then in terms of that. And I guess is there still like do you still go through like the all the different training as well and stuff as a trainee? You go through all of that aspect as well as learning on the job, as well as getting the experience from the other assistants, the buyers,
so
the
true.
merchers.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I obviously learn in a different way to everyone else. Like there's so many different ways you can kind of apply yourself, but I think the trainee program is so well structured in the sense that you get clear like outlines of where you should be in terms of time milestones. So having worked somewhere else previously, I wasn't really expecting a lot because I hadn't had that at my previous job. But when I started here, there was like, you know, you will have been on these training courses by this date and you'll know about this. And I was reading kind of the manual that you get given when you start, and I'm thinking, how am I going to know all that stuff by the time it gets to like month 9 when I can't even find my way to my desk after I've been and got my lunch? But yeah, it is like well structured. Like make sure that you know where you're going, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
So you've got a clear, even from day one, you've got that clear plan of where you're going to progress if you want to progress. I guess it's down to you as well, isn't it? It's not just, everyone will go through. You've still got to apply yourself, and you've still got to want to do that. And that's across the whole of Next. But it is really good that there's that structure in place that you know that, right, after 9 months I'll know this, and after, what is it, how long were you given a time period of like, well, after so long I will have an opportunity or start having conversations about going to assistant?
So they give you milestones of like 1 month, 3 months, I think it's 9 months, 12, and then 18. And I think at point 12, if you're kind of taking like a duck to water, then they would expect you to kind of be ready to be promoted to assistant. Obviously, everybody learns slightly differently. So they basically give you to month 18, basically, to say, you know, at that point, then we should definitely be at the point of assistant unless you need extra support.
Yeah.
But I suppose what's good about the timelines is they're also movable. So you might go from month 1 to 3 really quickly, but then as things start to ramp up a little bit, go a little bit slower than the 3 to 9 months. So you've got constant check-ins basically to make sure that, you know, you where you need to be and where you need extra help. But I think the trainee development kind of timeline is always changing because they're always adding new bits to it. Obviously, it's definitely not the same as when I first started. I mean, talking to the new trainees now, I'm like, wow, you do that now. That's so much better than when I was doing it. So it's always changing. But I think that, yeah, the timelines are a good thing, although they might seem scary when you first see them.
Yeah, I bet. And what you mentioned as well there around kind of first couple of months just trying to understand. So what this place is pretty much, it is a campus, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Enderby campus as it's known now. So what was that like coming to that? Like, is it?
To be honest, the first week I was scared of where to park in case I parked in someone's designated parking spot. But yeah, I feel like it's not until you've been here probably about 6 months or so that you learn how many things are actually on campus. I mean, cash points, didn't know that was there. Also a vending machine where you can get like plasters and paracetamol if you're feeling unwell. Also didn't know that was there. Takes a bit of time.
Yeah, part of the health and wellbeing offering that we've got.
The juice bar, didn't know they did smoothies in there probably until about 2 months in.
Wow.
I was on women's wear, so it's like the other side of, it's like over on kids wear. So it's, I know it seems close, but in like
it's kind of
time frame, it's far away.
Yeah, I guess you kind of got to navigate around your own way. You've got to seek it out, haven't you, to get that? Yeah.
But yeah, I think when you're new somewhere as well and you've not got much sense of direction, I think finding your bravery to go and ask someone where something is, it takes a lot of courage.
Yeah. And that's a good word though, courage. And I think if you have the courage, I don't think you'll ever be received as someone. It's like, oh, you're asking me another question. It's yeah. I know I never get that, or I never got that when I started many years ago. But it's never been given to me like that either. It was always just if you ask a question, it's almost like welcomed. It's like, yeah, of course, yeah, I'll show you, or I'll take the time to show you where the juice bar is so you can get today's smoothie. That's always been a good thing about working within the campus in Enderby and Leicester for sure. Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, it's come to be a personality trait now where I ask questions constantly. Sometimes to the annoyance of other team members, if that another question, I've just answered 5 from you. But I think you've got to be that way, otherwise you never learn. So,
what did you enjoy most about the whole trainee program, going through the whole thing?
I think, again, gonna kind of contradict what I said earlier, but actually having the chance to work on a couple of different teams.
Oh, okay.
I think getting exposure to multiple different types of product was like the best thing ever, because sometimes you can go and work on a team and then be there for quite a while, and you know you're not really pushed out of your comfort zone, so you don't really learn. Whereas when you get moved and you're looking at different products and like, I don't know, lead times are different and you've got backing for fabrics and all this kind of stuff, like it's a learning curve, so it's a good thing.
Was there a moment when you just thought, oh yeah, this is it, I'm getting this, I'm loving this? Can you remember back? Can you remember it? Can you remember like...
I don't know if there was a specific moment, but there was definitely a feeling that finally I'm not drowning in my work and I actually understand what I'm doing without having to ask a question. But yeah, I think when I moved to my second department, and then they split the department out because it was denim and also ladies' trousers, skirts, and then there was a few dresses in there as well. They split the team out, so denim moved away to become its own entity because it was a huge area and needed more resource, and I was kind of left behind with the remaining product categories. I think when that happened, I started to feel like I'd got a handle on what I was doing, and we got a really good rhythm with the team, and the people that I worked with were great, and yeah, I think that was when it probably clicked. But sadly, that was towards the end of my life as a trainee, so I think it was sad because I almost wanted that to last longer and it didn't. But they always say like when you get promoted or you move teams, you never really want to go, but it's always the best thing for you in terms of like learning and getting on and meeting new people and that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Bittersweet.
Yeah, bittersweet, exactly.
Bittersweet. Yeah, no, big time. And where and now you're a merchandiser. I guess you've got assistant merch. I guess you've got a trainee.
Yes.
In your team.
Yeah, so I'm on a really big team at the minute. So there's actually 3 assistant merches, a trainee and a merchandiser. So we're a small army of merchandisers, 'cause not all teams that big.
Oh, okay.
Most teams are a trainee, an assistant, and a merchandiser. So we're blessed to have a lot of us. But then we do look after a lot of brands, so the manpower is needed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is nice to have a trainee and hear from them kind of like what they've been up to and whether they're getting it, and like teaching them the things that you found difficult. And if they get it straight away, you're thinking, why did I find this so hard when I was a trainee? But yeah, it is good.
And have you been able to then pass some of that knowledge down as well, do you reckon?
I mean, I hope so. I'd have to ask the trainee.
Should we get the trainee in and see?
Oh my God, if she says no, I would die.
If she's listening, she's probably thinking,
no, I don't know anything.
Jess
taught me nothing.
And what are you hoping for the future, kind of, with like this role? Like, I guess you're enjoying your time at Next.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think every time you move to a new team, it's like a different job.
Oh,
so
okay.
you never really know where the wind's going to take you, kind of thing. I've obviously had a lot of moves around since I've started, and I haven't been here as long as a lot of people at Next who've been here like 10 plus years or so. I don't know. I don't really know what's next, kind of thing. But I took on a responsibility recently for Your Voice, and it's basically like a network of people and product that are kind of like the voice of the workforce.
Yep.
So this is like an extra layer to my job as regular merchandising. I'm kind of like a platform for people to come and speak to about anything and everything, basically. Things they want to change, things they want to resolve that are problems, or ideas that they want to put in place. And I basically channel those to the right people. And yeah, that's an exciting aspect to the job, I suppose.
That's something that's across the whole business. Actually, they're in all areas, and it's great that you're doing that. Actually, before we met, I didn't know that about you, so that's really that's really good, actually, because it's a good way for the business to understand. One of the ways for the business to understand, what are people thinking, what are people enjoying. It could be something as small as, I don't know, the toilet lights turn off halfway through when I'm in the toilet, or it could be, actually, we've got this big business idea. Is there anything we can do about it? It's great. How long you been doing that for now?
So, oh gosh, when did I start this? It would be, I think it's probably about 18 months. It's a very new kind of network. They wanted to make it like area specific. So there's obviously product, finance, warehouse, all sorts of areas that have got their own versions of us. And we're kind of like a group of people that have been nominated by everyone else. So
that's good. So people like you then.
I want to say I was the only person that applied from my area. So I don't actually know if it's, because it was a new thing. I don't think everybody kind of knew what it was going to entail. Right. And I didn't either. And I kind of put myself forward thinking this could be good. And then obviously got it by default, but that's not a bad thing.
No, but you still stuck your hand up, and just stick your hand up. That's, that goes back to the word which I think you said a couple of times, like that courage word. Yeah. It's clear you've got some of that, hey?
Blind faith.
or blind faith, okay. We'll go with either one of those. And what would you say to like anyone that's coming into the business now, anyone that's looking at that trainee program and going, do I, don't I? Why should I apply for Next? Is it a bit, I've got this perception, is it different? What bit of advice would you give to someone?
I think you'll make the decision and think, what have I done? This is really scary. But then when you've done it, you'll be like, oh, this is the right thing to do.
So initial panic.
Yeah. If I'm going to talk about own experience.
But also excitement.
Yeah.
Always excitement.
So. Yeah. I think with it being such a big business, like I said about moving teams and stuff, you never really know where the wind's going to take you. And I think you've got so much opportunity to do so many things. I can't see how it could be a bad decision, because even if you get here and you don't like it, you've learned something, kind of thing. So, yeah.
Oh, well, that's a really good place to end, I think. I mean, thanks for coming and chatting. Yeah. It's been really interesting to hear about your story. I know I've learned a lot. And yeah, hope you and your sister continue to have a yin and yang relationship.
Yeah, thanks.